everyone, welcome to Here We Are, Brattleboro's community talk show. I'm Wendy O'Connell, and again, we are back in the studio. We're very happy to be back. We've got plexiglass and all the sanitary measures happening, so we are safe and hopefully sound as well. Today on my show, I have Amanda Bamforth with me, also mostly known as Bam. She's a Brattleboro native, and she studied dance, theater, and also sung with the Brattleboro Women's Chorus. She spent 3 years traveling around the country. She came back to town to work as a barista at our very iconic Mocha Joes on the corner of Main and Elliott Streets, where she is now the manager. So welcome, Bam.
Hi, thank you, Wendy.
It's great to have you on the show.
It's great to be here.
It's really fun to have a younger person on the show who is in a place that Mocha Joes, which really is an iconic place in town, and there are many of us who remember it as Joe's Shoe Repair.
Yeah, Joe the Cobbler.
Joe the Cobbler. He did really good work with shoes, but he was also a cranky guy.
I've only heard stories.
Yes, there are stories, and it was great. It was a wonderful place to have in the community. So Mocha Joes has been here a long time, which we will get to talking about that. But you spent your childhood here. You went to 3 different schools, which I think is very interesting, the different styles of learning that you went through. And to back up just a little bit, your mom was a registered nurse. Mm-hmm. And how was that for you growing up?
Well, if I could describe my mother one way, it is like the queen of nurturing. That's her thing. Mm-hmm. It's if you come to her with a need, she just kind of swaddles you up in her love and makes everything feel better. So growing up with that was obviously incredibly beneficial, and growing up with that amount of empathy and compassion around
Mm-hmm.
me was super influential, and has definitely affected the way that I interact with the world.
Mm-hmm.
Her being a nurse was also it was incredible to watch. I mean, her main focus, even as an RN, is more mental health.
Mm.
So that I think affected me more than the actual clinical nursing stuff. That's how we kind of bonded, I'd say, at first, as I was becoming a person, was talking more about emotional growth and the effect all these little environmental variables have on you, and the incredible importance of support and bolstering.
Yeah.
And so, and with her actual jobs, the logistical aspects of them, she, being a nurse opened up so many avenues for me to be able to be a part, to be able to participate in activities, because she prioritized us, her kids, me and my sister. And so whenever there was a summer camp, she would work at schools, right? And so she'd have summers off, and so she'd get a job at a summer camp, and we'd get to go to the summer camp, including Rhodes End Farm, which is nearby, for horse camp, Green Mountain Camp for girls I did for an entire summer with her, which was really incredible. But it led me to the Putney School.
Uh-huh.
And so I think, that's it being so formative, that really her being a nurse.
Yes.
Let my life go the way it was supposed to.
So she was there in a position in each one of these places where you were also going to camp.
Yeah.
That's a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some great camps in the area, too.
Yeah, really, beautiful spots.
Yes.
For one, two, it being, so quaint here in the woods. I mean, it was, wonderful ways to spend the summer.
Did you meet a lot of people?
I did. It's, it's funny. I don't think I have anybody that I stay in contact with, but I have lots of, incredible memories of people from all over the place.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so your younger years, you were mostly, you were at Green Street School for a while, public school, and any impressions from that time?
I mean, I loved it there. I grew up in Springfield before that until I was 7, and I went to 3 different schools there, including preschool and after school programs. And so I felt a little all over the place, even though that was a very rooted start to my life.
Mm-hmm.
But coming into Brattleboro, there was just something, I don't know, that felt right.
Mm-hmm.
My whole life had changed. My mom and dad had split up. We got, we came to Brattleboro, and Green Street just kind of felt like home immediately. Mrs. Namislow, who I think is Mrs. Hodgdon now, I called her mom by accident once, and I still remember the terror of it. But, that was how impactful that place had been on me, for sure. I loved it there.
So after Green Street, where did you go, Bam?
So after sixth grade, we moved to Dummerston for a year, and then to Westminster, and I went to the Compass School on the border of Westminster and Bellows Falls, which was an incredible experience. Also, it being middle school, right, just generally kind of sucked, but you know, being so progressive and being so one-on-one, and the school was so small, it was like 98 students total between 7th and 12th grade, so you know, 7th and 8th grade we all kind of hung out together.
Yes.
There was no real boundaries there.
Yeah, that's kind of wonderful, isn't it? To have that mix of ages all working together in one way or another. Yeah.
And then like lunch, right? It was all of us, 7 through 12, in one big room having lunch. So you got to see everybody.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that kind of situation.
My mom had kind of realized that the way that I preferred to learn and that was best for me to learn was a little more one-on-one. So that's why she chose Compass. And then she started working for the Putney School. Oh man, it might have even been as early as 6th grade. She was doing summer programs there and kind of worked her way into working the full school year as the nurse there. So I got to go to Putney, which was mind-blowing for, you know, somebody who had been raised in downtown Brattleboro.
Yeah.
To then be up on this hill with people from all over the world, mucking stalls and doing dishes.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? You went from a somewhat urban environment to rural, and it's only 10 miles away.
Exactly. It was like it was, you know, looking back on it, definitely a game changer for sure. And I lived right on Western Ave when I went to Green Street, and so it was just a walk down the road to school, walk downtown to do whatever I wanted, and then moving into the country, and then being, you know, really involved in a functioning farm of a high school.
Yeah. How'd you like it?
I loved it. I mean, the farm stuff was hard for me because I have wicked hay fever, and so we found out the hard way that I couldn't spend time in the barn. But you know, learning how to garden and being a part of like mealtime, right? You're either helping prep or you're doing dishes, and you're serving this forced and safe community in preparation for like going out and being part of an actual community, you know.
Anything in particular when you were at Putney School that you got really engaged with?
Oh man, a couple things. You know, science and math, not really my strong suit, but I was really into English, writing short stories, so writing was a big thing for me. Dancing, I did theater late in the game, but I loved it. And then jewelry making, silversmithing with Jeannie Bennett was a big part of it. I made sure I did it every year. And stained glass. All of my teachers were wonderful, but it's something to be said that the teacher that stood out to me the most, Glenn Littledale, who was my astronomy teacher, was the one who sat down with me and like tried to meet me halfway and looked me in the eye and saw me as a person and tried to help me get through the difficulties I was having. You know, just really engaged, and you know, it's incredible to be able to sit across the table from a teacher who you are normally so disconnected from, to all of a sudden feel like an actual person. It was really incredible.
Plus, he had an observatory.
Plus, he has an observatory, and it was awesome.
That's a plus.
And when your homework is like gathering on the lawn to stargaze, it's pretty good.
It's pretty fabulous.
And
then you did some traveling across America.
Yes, I did. I decided junior year that I was not going to go to college. Didn't have enough focus, didn't want to waste the time or the money, didn't think I would get what I needed to get out of it. And so I decided to do traveling, and I left with a partner, and we got in the truck and went to Georgia, where he was from, where we kind of camped out on his family's land, and worked and raised money and built ourselves a little back of the truck home, packed up all of our stuff and went to Arizona, the long way to Arizona, which was New Orleans to Colorado to Arizona, meeting kind of friends along the way and just stopping wherever we wanted to and taking nothing but back roads, and that was an incredible amount of experiences, good and bad.
But then you had the call to come back home.
I did. Honestly, the moment I left, I had the call to come back home.
Really?
But I was, convinced it was homesickness, and that I just needed to go do things elsewhere, and, which I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
Getting to see so much of the country was incredible. But the call to come home was always there.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a Vermonter, and I love it here. There's no place like it. And then at the same time, everywhere is like it. You know, there are small towns everywhere. There are beautiful small things happening everywhere. And I think that's the biggest thing that I took home from it was that it's not for me about the big things we get done. It's about the small things we do every single day that actually make what our life is. And so that was incredible. And the moment we decided to go home, like this big sigh of relief, and home I came.
Yeah, yeah, and so you started working at Mocha Joes, and I think that one thing about Mocha Joes, and this is true of any place downtown really, pre-pandemic, it's a little different now, but you really have a window to the community, and you see not only people coming in and out, but on the streets, going to and from work. Can you talk a little bit about that Vantage Point?
Ooh, it feels like a very broad lens, and at the same time so tunnel visioned, right? We are in a 1 block radius, but I can't go from Harmony parking lot to the cafe without, well, pre-pandemic, being approached by like 30 people that I know to say hi or small talk, or, and that's beautiful and annoying. But overall, this this getting to count on going downtown and getting to see all these same faces every day really solidifies me anyway. But the Vantage Point for Mocha Joes, especially it being around so long, like it's as old as I am. The cafe was born the year I was.
Was it really?
Yeah, and so we're both 29 years old. And we have customers that have been coming there almost every day since the beginning, right? And so we have people that know everything about it, and so we have a lot of regulars who come in, and it's like their living room, right? They're just walking home, and so a lot of times when people come in, I'll say, welcome home, and that's a wonderful feeling, right? And getting, that's like the beautiful aspect of it, is that me and my wonderful team are all like pretty passionate, like low-key passionate about being this kind of a part of the community, right? But you get to see all the ups and downs. You get to see the patterns of the struggling, of like our struggling community, and the ups and downs within that within that community, right? We've seen some beautiful turnaround stories. We've seen some really difficult roller coasters with people, but what I've always loved about Mocha Joes and what drew me there was the amount of importance they put on community and support and bolstering and being welcoming for anyone and everyone who wants to come in and just like be loved and respect their surroundings, right?
And that's Pierre and Ellen Cappy who have really established that attitude and the influence in the community, right?
Yeah. Pierre and Ellen, it's very important to them, and they've been a part of this community for a long time.
Yes. So many of us, have been in and out of Mocha Joes over these 29 years, and so we have relationships with them and Pierre and Ellen to various degrees, and people who work there. Can you give us a little historical snapshot of Mocha Joes?
Oh goodness, so, I wasn't there at the beginning, but I don't really know where Pierre's passion for it came from. I think he just kind of dreamed of this coffee house space where people could come and congregate and talk and connect and work through things and play chess and read books, and he wanted to provide this like grounded space for everybody to come and go, which he definitely did. And a few short years after that, I'm not quite sure what year, was when they decided to do the roasting. Yeah. Right, and then the cafe kind of became the place that showcased all the things he was doing at the roasting shop, which was also incredibly beautiful. We were talking earlier about Coffee Connection, and I think that all led him to, all of those experiences led him to his relationship with the farm and the mill in Cameroon, where it is so direct. Like Pierre is there, like they're his family over there. He goes there every year, and he went over there. He saw this beautiful land. He saw this beautiful potential. He saw this area that was struggling, and all these people that wanted so badly for their community to be bolstered. So he took what he had built here in Brattleboro and took it to Africa, and fell in love with the people there. And so he reestablished the mill. He replaced all this stuff. He got all the farming equipment. He taught a whole bunch of people how to do what they're going to do. And there's housing, and there's medical support, and there's all of this. And he sends us videos of these beautiful like community dances that happen there. And And so to know that that's like what I'm helping bolster is you know, a huge part of what makes me feel good about myself. Makes me feel good about being alive.
Yeah.
But you know, so that's snapshot,
Yes.
I guess, is
Well,
now, you know, his focus is there. We get coffee from all over the place. But.
Again, it's speaking to this wider community. You know, he and Ellen being part of this community, but also going wider and bringing that back and having reciprocate. Yeah. And so, you know, how about describe your job a little bit?
My job logistically is, you know, hiring, firing, training, scheduling, ordering, you know, general crisis management, all the nitty-gritty paperwork, bills, you know, deposits, all those little things that are every day. And then what I really get from the job is the connection I have with my team. And you know, when I hire somebody, I try to always choose somebody who is invested in this place and in, you know, the things that Mocha Joes represents, which is like community and acceptance and, you know, support. And so the biggest and like vaguest part of my job is really being the conduit between the logistical side and the community side and making sure that they're always in as much balance as possible.
You've been here for this period of time. You have a community now you have a great expression, cuspy adults, right? I love that. So you have a cohort of cuspy adults that many of whom you've grown up with. And I know that that things have been challenging in the community in many, many different ways. Could you talk about that a little bit?
You know, I mean, our community faces many challenges, right? We've been dealing with the opioid crisis for a long time, and I know that Brattleboro becomes a hub for that in a lot of ways in our area because of the retreat, and you know, that being one of the only places for people to get that kind of care, and especially in that good of an environment. And so we do see a lot of the revolving door of, you know, struggling folks. And so that's hard to be a part of and wonderful to be a part of.
And seeing your friends and going through whatever things that, you know, people, not necessarily just your friends, but young adults in the area are going through, you know, there's been a lot of loss as well.
Absolutely. You know, I actually was the 1-year anniversary of the loss of my friend a couple weeks ago. I lost 2 friends the month before that. To various, you know, situations, but that has been incredibly difficult, right? Like my whole age, like the whole 20s age bracket in town, especially the parts that I see, you know, there has been this kind of raging undertow of grief that just hasn't ended, right? Like not that grief ever ends, but that there hasn't really been relief from, you know, and so you're trying to process the loss of somebody you love and then you lose someone else, and all while being surrounded by it all the time, and also trying to just like do your job and pay your rent and pay your bills and like grow as a person, which is hard enough already, right? To then be in a town that has like such extreme parts of the spectrum, right? Like I don't feel like Brattleboro is very neutral, right? Like what's beautiful about it is that there's all these spikes of all these different energies that happen to be able to work together here.
Right. Yes.
And so, you know, it's incredible. Like it's been so beautiful for me to watch these young people, younger than me, you know, the past 6 years and like the things they've become involved in and the amount that they care. So all of this hardship and all of this terror and all of this like loss and sadness has also grown this incredibly passionate, incredibly thoughtful, heartfelt group of young people who are actively making things happen and like actively participating in the world around them and in their community. You know, like almost everyone that works for me has been a part of the Pliny Park gathering like every week, right? You know, and trying very much to be present. And so that, you know, especially having it at Mocha Joes in downtown, you get this whole perspective, right? Like it's all encompassed. which is overwhelming. It's overwhelming to be around, but it's also incredibly beautiful. And I think it's, you know, the hardship is in the big picture, you know, almost unanswerable. There are so many variables, but there are ways that we can work towards fixing it, like fixing things or at least bettering them.
And you see that there's the energy there for that, for
Yeah,
making
I do.
those
I
changes.
do, absolutely.
That's
And,
really good to hear.
You know, and it's, I think the struggle for you know, young people in the community right now is like, how do I balance that? Like, how I have all this energy and I want to, and I have all these feelings associated with it, but you know, there are so many moments of imbalance, right? Like, I'm too tired, I'm too sad to get anything done, which makes me feel bad. And so then it takes longer to like build that momentum back up. But I've been seeing so many gatherings, right? And so many groups forming of young people who at least want to support each other and like try to figure things out and how to move forward.
Yeah, and do you think that that people your age, around your age, a cuspy adult, do you feel like there's enough support in the community?
I think honestly, those in control of support, like offering support in our community, maybe don't know how to give that support. And I think we also don't know what kind of support we need in a lot of ways. There are some louder voices in the circle around me that have beautiful, wonderful ideas of how to bolster each other, and they are organizing. You know, Desmond Peoples is incredible. Moxie's been, you know, very loud and very supportive in the best ways, and like there are these young people. And then I have another friend, Erin Skaggs, who's more involved in like DBA and BDCC and doing, and she's also now in charge of like the new gallery walk, right? And so I do see all of these like community driven, but these individuals popping up, right? So like I do see that. I don't know if there's really a way that like the town could offer support, right? I think it kind of has to come from the community members.
Yes, and various parts of the community coming forward, and being in communication once again. And I'm assuming also that the pandemic, of course, is underlining all of these things. Yeah.
Talk about compounding some like big worldly issues.
Right. How has it been for you? Personally? Yeah.
You know, with my own mental health and emotional health, you know, it's definitely caused a roller coaster of, you know, all this alone time, and then when you're spending time in the public, it's like kind of frantic and quietly frantic, right? Even when there's not a lot of people around, you're on edge. There's this edginess to it. But at the same time, like there's this opposite effect where I feel like I've been able to introspect more. I've been able to like actually tackle things instead of just feeling like I'm constantly just trying to stay on top of things every day, right? Like the general hubbub doesn't necessarily, like pre-pandemic, right? You're working, and when you're not working, you're trying to rest and recuperate and get a couple things done. But all this time for a lot of people anyway, passion projects and just like being able to critically think about the world, right? I think a lot of that actually has affected, you know, or has been directly built all of these like beautiful ideas that are coming out of it, and that I think will actually boost us into actual change.
That's really good to hear. Speaking of passion projects, you sing in a band.
I do.
Let's hear about Jeopardy.
I am the vocalist for a local thrash band, Jeopardy.
A thrash band.
Thrash band.
Okay.
Yes, thrash metal, and so it's very fast and very loud and pretty aggressive. Cathartic for me, to say the least. I don't even like listen to metal really. It's not something I do in my free time. But I was very close with the band members. My ex-boyfriend used to be the drummer, and so, you know, and our guitar player has been a friend of mine for over a decade. And so, you know, the three of us were kind of there at the beginning. I wasn't in the band, but I was around. And then the vocalist back then, in like 2014, he wasn't there for a practice, and we were all sitting around having too many drinks, and I knew some of the words and I'm mouthing along, and then John Short, or Boozer, who's my guitarist, kind of just puts the microphone in front of my face, and I start screaming, and I'm in the band all of a sudden. Yeah, so it just kind of happened out of nowhere. But like I said, in like the Putney School, I was doing dance and theater, and before that, I was at Kelly's Dance Academy on Putney Road,
Yeah.
and so I hadn't performed in so long, and realizing how much I missed it and loved it, and all of a sudden here's this crazy outlet that has nothing to do with me personally, well, like when it comes to like my preferences, to then just be able to get it all out and be as ridiculous and kind of obscene as possible, just to really, you know, I've never felt anything so releasing before.
What a great thing.
Yeah.
That's very wonderful.
And out of nowhere.
And how long have you been doing that?
About 5 years.
Oh, that's a good amount of time.
Oh, yeah.
Are you doing your own material?
Yep, we have all original songs. Yeah, we've talked about covers a lot, ranging from pop to Mellencamp to weird holiday songs, but none of them have ever happened. But we do all original songs, confronting all sorts of things. Somebody spilling your drink, some, you know, like, but we also talk about, like, you know, date rape and alcoholism and like all these crazy things that we all experience, and sometimes you have these big loaded feelings and you just need to get them out, or it could like, it's gonna manifest in some other terrible way, so you just kind of like get it out there.
What a healthy thing to do,
Yeah,
right?
turns out it's incredibly healthy, and the
Yeah.
metal community is honestly like one of the sweetest communities I've ever been a part of. Right.
And where are you performing?
Metropolis was actually where we got our start, Metal Metropolis Nights. Thank you, Alan Blackwell.
Yep.
And then most recently we've played mostly at the Stone Church for Robin Johnson, who is incredible.
Yes.
And Aaron Chesley, who also does a lot of sound work there, is our bass player. And so we have this like fun little music community going on.
Yeah.
Which has been like incredible. We did a COVID live stream.
You did.
I think, I don't know, was it a month and a half ago? I can't even.
We don't know.
What is time?
We don't know.
Which was awesome, but we've played all over the place.
You have.
Yeah, I think as far, kind of like New York and New Jersey. We've played Northern Vermont a whole lot.
So you've traveled.
Yeah.
You traveled with the band.
Yep.
That's so great. And it's called Jeopardy.
Jeopardy.
How'd you come up with the name?
I have no idea.
It's an
I
honest
couldn't tell
answer.
you. We do have a lot of 70-plus-year-old followers on Facebook, which I think is due to the fact they think that we're the television show.
So they're tuning in and expecting Ellen.
Yeah, and then they get me screaming in their face, so, we'll see.
It would be interesting to know how long they stay on.
Yeah,
right?
I don't even think they, know what's what. I don't even think they, go to the page at all. They just kind of click like, and...
It's a great name for a band
Right?
because of that. Yes, very smart thinking. Well, Bam, I think that we're kind of out of time. It would be great to continue to talk.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
Yeah,
It's
great
wonderful
time.
to have you on. And there will be information at the end of the show for folks to check out where you are. So thanks for being on.
Thank you so much for having me, Wendy.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Yeah. Have a great day, yes. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. Mocha Joes, which has been, for those of us who have lived in town, that's been part of our lives, and for BAM to be a part of it, and to know about this new music that we have never heard of before, thrash metal.
Thrash.
Thrash metal, THRASH metal. Keep your ears open and stay tuned. Remember, always tune into your neighbors, and thanks for being with us today.